Greetings everyone and welcome back to SpaceWeek Live after a 4-week break. So why was I gone for so long? Well, one thing after another really. First I wasn't feeling well 3 weeks ago, and then I was at a family reunion and so I couldn't attend. Then I got COVID. My whole family got COVID. I caught it probably from the family reunion, honestly. And then I gave it to my kids, and so we were sick for a while. And I was unable to do the show last week because anytime I tried to talk, I would end up in this horrible coughing fit. So I didn't want to subject you to that. So here we are with a lot of ground to catch up on, which is perfectly fine because here we are and we have all the time in the world. So I also wanted to mention that there was a significant channel event just a couple of days ago. I was informed by YouTube that my channel has been demonetized for the 4th time, actually. Last time I was demonetized was back in 2000, and there were a couple of times in 2019. So the reason for their demonetization, and first of all, if you don't understand YouTube monetization, basically when a channel is eligible to be monetized, that means that I have the option of turning on monetization for specific videos, and that basically gives YouTube permission to display ads during, like, before those videos or after. And I get a small amount of advertising revenue from that. I mean, if I were a big channel, I'd get big revenue, but I'm not. So now, in the case of my channel, I actually don't monetize most of my videos because most of my videos are live streams of rocket launches, and which are restreamed from launch providers such as SpaceX and NASA. And I don't monetize that because I'm not adding any value to it, and so that would be uncool to do so. However, YouTube's partner program guidelines do not accommodate my channel model. And so their reason for their demonetization is reused content. They say that too much of my content is reused without me adding anything to it. And so, that would include all of the launch live streams and things like that. Now, if I were to simply put my face up on the screen and provide my own personal commentary and or reaction to the launches during those live streams, YouTube wouldn't have a problem with it because that would be custom content. I would have my face on the screen and I'd be saying things like, ooh, wow, it's really going fast. The thing is, that's not my style. You don't want to hear me talk. You want to hear the rocket launch, right? And I don't have access to nearly the amount of specific detail information about the launch that the launch provider is going to have. And so they can provide more informed commentary on their own launches than I can. And so my channel is kind of stuck in a tight spot because as far as monetization is concerned, because I don't really adhere to the YouTube partner program intended model for monetized channels. That is, I'm not only producing custom edited, narrated, whatever, custom value added content. I am also producing aggregated restreams of rocket launches. And so for that reason, they have demonetized me. Unfortunately, what that means is that channel members, memberships are now on hold until either I get remonetized or on hold indefinitely if I'm unable to get remonetized. Now, I probably will get remonetized. I can reapply again in 30 days. So it would probably be about 27, 28 days now. But in the meantime, channel members who normally see their names in green in the chat will not see their names in green, nor will they have access to the custom emojis and the other perks associated with channel membership. And I'm very sorry for that. And that's the thing with YouTube channel memberships. They're easy, they're fun because they give you access to fun things like emojis and super chats and all that. But they are unreliable because YouTube can pull the rug out from under you at any moment. And so my recommendation is, if you want to support the channel, and if you appreciate not only the SpaceWeeks and the satellite time lapses, but also the aggregation of rocket launches from around the world that I provide to you, and if you'd like to support that effort, then my recommendation would be to join, to become a patron on Patreon, which I'll provide a link to in the chat now. Now, I'm not really trying to shill for monetary donations or whatever, but there is actually a monetary cost associated with the channel, especially like the video editing tools that I use, the video and audio and image editing tools that I use. The Adobe Creative Cloud has a not insignificant monthly subscription cost, as well as my podcast host for the podcast version of this show. And I believe in supporting the content that you enjoy. So I actually, Co.ag, who is a composer whose music is featured all over my channel, I subscribe to him, and so I'm a member over on his channel, as well as being a member over on Lab Padre and being a patron of a couple other channels. Anyway, all of that expense gets hopefully offset by the memberships and donations and other things. So anyway, I wanted to get that out of the way and explained because I know some members were saying, because they noticed they didn't have their green name, they were like, is somebody mad at me? Did I say something wrong? No, it's totally not your fault. It's not even my fault. It's just YouTube and YouTube politics. So hopefully we get it sorted. I'm actually going to submit a video appeal to their demonetization, and hopefully they'll understand my situation and remonetize me, with the understanding that I will only monetize the videos that I have actually added value to. But anyway, so let us get caught up. moving on to happier topics. Back on June 8th, NASA announced that the James Webb Space Telescope's primary mirror had been impacted by a micrometeoroid sometime between May 23rd and May 25th. This potentiality was not unexpected, and the James Webb Space Telescope was designed to deal with such impacts. It was just a little shocking that it happened so soon after launch and before commencement of primary scientific operations. The impact is not expected to affect the telescope's performance, and they have already accounted for that impact in their configuration of the mirrors. But hopefully it doesn't happen too terribly often, because the more impacts occur, the more eventually it will affect the telescope's performance. But and just FYI, on July 12th rather, coming up next week, which I'll cover in a little more detail in next week's SpaceWeek, we are expecting a big announcement of the first production images, not just test images, but production images from the James Webb Space Telescope, which of course launched on Christmas Day 2021, and then reached its halo orbit around the Sun-Earth L2 Lagrange point in late January. All right. Also on June 8th, a SpaceX Falcon 9 launched the Nilesat 301 geostationary communications satellite for an Egyptian operator aptly named Nilesat.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition and liftoff.
M1D chamber pressure phenomenal. Pitching downrange.
I love these booster cam views of the ground fading away in the background. So the camera was frozen during the booster landing, even before the drone ship started getting jostled by the landing burn. I just want to keep watching this. I love booster cams. Okay. But we did get to see the booster sitting on the drone ship, so here's the landing.
What we're waiting for the second stage. Again, it is now parked and in its coast phase. So here we're going to see if we can land this first stage for the 7th time on our drone ship.
And the rocket has teleported to the landing pad. But yep. Let's see. Nilesat. Did we get satellite deployment? Here we go. Let's speed this up a bit.
Deploy confirmed.
And there you have it. We've received and see on screen successful separation of the Nilesat 301 satellite from Falcon 9's second stage. With that, we are going to be bringing our webcast to a close. We're going to take some time to thank the Nilesat team.
Good job, SpaceX, as always. Then, on June 12th, Astra launched their Rocket 3.3 from Cape Canaveral with a pair of CubeSats for NASA's Tropics mission. First, let's check out the launch.
$15. 10, water on, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
recall, on the previous Astra launch, they had a problem where the payload fairing couldn't open, and the second stage did separate, and when the second stage engine ignited, it blew off the payload fairing and sent the satellite tumbling, or the second stage with the satellite tumbling off into oblivion. The launch looked good this time, although if we track forward a little bit, did look a little wobbly on its ascent, which is not unusual for a small rocket. But so I was worried at this point with all that wobbling, but it was within parameters. It was a nominal launch to start with. Unfortunately, at T plus 7 minutes and 21 seconds, about 4 minutes into the second stage burn, something went awry. There was a poof from the engine, and the rocket started to tumble. Let's check that out.
Left in the planned upper stage burn.
So the burn was not completed and the rocket failed to reach orbital velocity. Low Earth orbit requires about 7,800 meters per second of speed, but the upper stage engine cut out at 6,575 meters per second. The payload, consisting of NASA's 2 satellites, were lost. Astra's getting closer, but they're not quite ready for prime time. Hopefully they can survive long enough to work out the kinks and beef up reliability of their launch system. A containerized rocket that can be rapidly deployed and launched from just about anywhere is a very useful thing, so hopefully they do succeed. Starting on June 17th, we had a trifecta of 3 consecutive days with 3 SpaceX launches from 3 different launch pads. Starting off, SpaceX launched a booster for the 13th time, a new record. The Falcon 9 lifted off from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center, delivering another batch of Starlink satellites to orbit.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. And liftoff.
M1D chamber pressure phenomenal. Vehicle is pitching downrange.
We are T plus 37 seconds into the mission. Falcon 9 has successfully lifted.
And a picture-perfect landing.
Stage 1 transonic. Stage 2 is in terminal guidance. Stage 1 landing burn.
Stage 2 FTS has saved.
So our landing burn has begun. It's a single engine burn. This is also the period where we'll deploy our landing legs. And here comes our first stage for the 13th time, attempting to land on our drone ship.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And X marks the spot for the 13th time.
Ooh, So congratulations to SpaceX. Now bear in mind, the Falcon 9 first stage booster is designed to be reused at least 10 times. And so far, the most they've done is 13, but I'm sure that will increase, as their boosters continue to age. The next day, they launched. Oh, in the world.
Someone's at the front door.
You know what? I'm not going to get that. My front doorbell rang. What in the world? I wasn't expecting anyone. One moment. All right. Sorry about that. Okay, the next day they launched the SARA-1 radar remote sensing satellite for the German military from a very foggy Vandenberg Space Force Base in California.
T-minus 15 seconds.
Falcon 9 is configured for flight.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. And liftoff.
Vehicle pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Let's speed up the ascent so that we can see that California coastline. And sorry for the interruption there. Live TV, what are you going to do? That wasn't as bad as when I was broadcasting and suddenly all my lights went out. And it wasn't because I had a power outage, it was because one of my kids accidentally turned off the lights via the Google Home speaker upstairs. So you're saying this is more clouds than coastline. There's the coast. California launches are particularly scenic. And as with many Vandenberg launches, the first stage booster landed back at the pad rather than on a drone ship, which we can see here.
Stage 1 FTS is saved.
This is such a cool view of
Stage 1 is transonic.
Going back through the cloud layer.
Stage 1 landing burn has started.
This is a great shot from the ground on the right-hand side.
Stage 2 FTS is saved.
Terminal guidance.
Landing legs are deployed.
And welcome back, Falcon 9. That is the third.
And there we go.
Booster. It also
And to round out their 3-day streak, SpaceX launched the Globalstar FM-15 messaging and data relay satellite from Cape Canaveral into a geostationary transfer orbit.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition, and lift off of Falcon 9. Go Falcon, go Globalstar.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Stage 1 chamber pressure is nominal.
Falcon 9 has successfully lifted
Power
off.
and telemetry are nominal.
And we had a night landing on the drone ship.
There's that call out, stage 1 landing burn. Now the 4 landing legs should deploy just a few seconds before touchdown, so let's watch as Falcon 9 attempts to land on just read the instructions.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
And
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
awesome view.
And finally, 1 hour and 53 minutes after the launch, the satellite was deployed.
And we are now waiting for the deployment of the 25th and final satellite in the 2nd generation constellation.
Globalstar separation confirmed.
An awesome view. You can see the Globalstar FM-15 satellite drifting away from Falcon 9's 2nd stage.
Well done once again. Then on June 21st, South Korea launched their Nuri rocket, also called KSLV-2, on its 2nd test flight, lifting off from Naro Space Center. The 3-stage liquid-propelled rocket was designed by the Korea Aerospace Research Institute, or KARI, to deliver a 1.5-ton satellite into a 600 by 800 kilometer sun-synchronous orbit.
7, 6,
5, 4, 3, 2,
엔진 점화, 2류.
야, 누리호가 이제 정말 비행을 시작했습니다.
비행을 신선하게
네.
시작했습니다.
저 불꽃 보이시나요? 네, 엄청납니다. 이 진동 느껴지시나요?
진동이 장난이 아니네요.
저 소리와 진동 때문에 이 건물까지도 엄청나게 흔들리고 있습니다. 누리호가 이 이거 진동과 함께 멋진 불꽃과 함께 하늘로 날아오고 있습니다.
네, 지금 이걸 지켜보는 시청자 여러분들께서는 현장의 기운이
I have no idea what they're saying, but they sound very excited, which is good to hear. So far as I'm aware, this launch was a success, so congratulations, South Korea.
그래서 제가 아까 말씀드렸던 것처럼 저는 작년에 이 누리호 2차 시험박사장님을 설명해 이길 수 없다고 했던 말이 조금 이해가 되시나요?
네. 정말 여기가 다 떨리고 배가 날아가는 것 같은 기분이
맞습니다.
드네요.
저도 그런 기분입니다.
네. 박사님 아직 성공이라고 할 수는 없지만 그래도 누리호가 지금 잘 날아가고 있어요.
네, 맞습니다.
기분이 어떠세요?
기분이요? 일단 누리호 일단에
And the next day, a Kuaizhou 1A launched the Tianxing-1 test satellite from Jiuquan in northwest China. According to official sources, the satellite will be used for space environment detection experiments. It's interesting that we see hypergolic fuel being either vented or released from up by the payload fairing, like at the top of the 2nd stage. Curious. All right. Also on the 22nd, an Ariane 5 launched MEASat 3D and GSat 24, a pair of communication satellites, into a geostationary transfer orbit.
DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage Vulcain. Allumage 2EAP, décollage. Propulsion nominale, tous les paramètres à bord sont normaux.
I love how the Ariane 5 is such a beefy rocket, but it just jumps right off the launch pad. It's really impressive to see. Would be cool to make a pilgrimage down there sometime and see it in person.
We've just seen Ariane 5 disappear into space. Do stay with us, everyone.
Except Ariane 5. I guess it would have to be Ariane 6, because Ariane 5's days are numbered. So as usual for launches from Kourou, French Guiana, not much to see from the ground because there's always clouds there, that being an equatorial location right next to the Amazon rainforest. And so we get a few seconds of video and a couple hours of talking. Then on June 23rd, a Long March 2D launched the second group of 3 Yaogan 35 satellites from Xichang in southwest China. The satellites will reportedly be used for scientific experiments, land surveys, agriculture, disaster prevention, and mitigation. And that's it for those. Let's see, farther afield, on June 23rd, the ESA JAXA spacecraft Bepi-Colombo made its second flyby of the planet Mercury, passing just 200 kilometers or 124 miles above the surface. That's half the altitude of the International Space Station's orbit above the Earth. Put another way, Bepi-Colombo passed by Mercury at just 1/10,000th of 1% of the current distance between Mercury and Earth. That's like firing at a target 100 miles away and hitting 7 inches from the center of the bullseye, having intended to hit exactly 7 inches from the bullseye. Obviously, we don't want to plow our spacecraft into Mercury, so we don't want to hit that bullseye. But congratulations to Bepi-Colombo, and very cool. It's good that we have another Mercury mission. It's actually a very difficult planet to get to, but yeah. All right, that gets us caught up to last week, which was another busy one. On Tuesday, June 28th, a Rocket Lab Electron rocket boosted NASA's Capstone mission toward the Moon from their launch complex in New Zealand.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And lift off.
Being a night launch, we didn't get to see the scenic North Island of New Zealand receding into the background from the rocket cam view, but the mission's full name is the Cislunar Autonomous Positioning System Technology Operations and Navigation Experiment, or Capstone for short, because not many people can remember the full name. This was Electron's first mission beyond low Earth orbit. The first stage got the payload out of the atmosphere. Then the second stage gave it its orbital speed. And here is a telemetry-driven animation of the second stage separation. Boop. Now, Rocket Lab's job was not done at that point, because Finally, Rocket Lab's special space tug called Photon, which is essentially a third stage, has been and will continue to slowly raise its orbit to intersect with the Moon, at which point Capstone will be placed in a unique, highly elliptical, near-rectilinear halo orbit, or NRHO, the same orbit that's planned for the Lunar Gateway, which will act as a stopping point for Artemis astronauts on their way to and from the Moon in those upcoming manned lunar missions. Viewed from an Earth-centered frame of reference, Capstone's orbit will look like this. Kind of a scalloped crown around the Earth. Capstone won't actually reach its target orbit until November 13th of this year. Human space travelers need quick travel and big rockets, but if you're not in a hurry to get to your destination, you can save a lot of money by using a very small amount of thrust over weeks or months to achieve the same delta V. That same day, the Northrop Grumman Cygnus 17 cargo spacecraft departed the ISS after 130 days, laden with trash. As with all cargo spacecraft, except for SpaceX's Dragon, Cygnus deorbited over the Pacific and burned up. Also, unlike Dragon, Cygnus does not have an autonomous docking capability, and so it must be grappled by the space station robotic arm and then berthed or unberthed from the common berthing mechanism ports rather than docked to a docking port. This is actually sped up 2 times, and it's still a rather glacial pace there, but rest assured, Cygnus is untethered from the robotic arm and drifting away. Sometimes space is not fast-paced, but it is nonetheless fascinating and exciting. Then on Wednesday, another Falcon 9 punched. Let me restart. Then on Wednesday, another Falcon 9 launched the SES-22 communications satellite into a geostationary transfer orbit.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition and liftoff.
M1P chamber pressure nominal. Pitching downrange.
See Cape Canaveral receding into the background there.
Pad 40 carrying the SES-22 satellite.
Nominal.
And we have throttled down the engines on stage 1 in preparation for max Q.
And we got a great view of the first stage's descent and landing, which I will play in its entirety here.
Ignite that last engine for the touchdown. Just a few seconds before landing.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
And we're just about 30 seconds away from the landing burn on the first stage, but we will have a couple events happening back to back. First will be
transonic.
First will be SECO 1, that is second stage engine cutoff 1 for the MVAC engine on that second stage.
FTS is safe.
Just a few seconds after SECO 1 will be the landing burn beginning.
1 landing burn, startup.
Impact shutdown.
There we had both of those events, SECO 1 and the landing burn beginning on the first stage. Again, attempting to land on
orbit insertion.
A shortfall of gravitas. And confirmation of good orbit on the second
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
Expected loss of signal, Cape.
Stage 1 landing is confirmed.
Then 33 minutes after launch, look at that majestic booster with the sun in the background. Then 33 minutes after launch, the satellite was deployed.
And that should be coming up here in just a few seconds. You are watching the SES-22 satellite drifting away from Falcon 9's second stage. And that confirms payload deploy.
And that's being played at 2 times speed because it drifted away rather slowly. Another success for SpaceX, and picturesque launch and landing. Last Thursday, an Indian Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, or PSLV, rocket lifted off from Satish Dhawan Space Center with 3 Singaporean satellites: the DSEO Optical Earth Imaging Satellite for ST Engineering and Singapore's Defence Science and Technology Agency, the NuSAR Radar Observation Satellite, and the Scoob-1 satellite. I don't know if that's like Scoob as in Scooby-Doo. Scoob-1 satellite, which was developed by Singaporean university students.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, plus 1, plus 5 seconds.
Stop, normal. P1 tracking. P3 tracking. P2 tracking.
PSLV C-53
performance normal.
सफलतापूर्ण उत्थापन अभी हमने देखा। गर्जना करता हुआ PSLV C-53 आकाश में। आप देख सकते हैं कितना साफ नज़ारा है, बहुत ही रोमांच भरा नज़ारा।
So Indian rockets tend to have more stages than we're accustomed to with other rockets, which typically have 2 stages, maybe 3. Indian rockets sometimes have 4 or 5 stages, but nonetheless, they haven't experienced any mishaps in the 4.5 years that I've been doing this. So good job, ISRO, and they're on their way.
PSLV C-53.
Also on Thursday, a ULA Atlas V launched the Wide Field of View, or WFOV, missile warning satellite for the U.S. Space Force, as well as the USS F-12 Ring spacecraft, a rideshare payload containing several classified experiments.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have engine ignition and liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket carrying USS F-12 for the United States Space Force.
Pitch over program, body rates look good. NPU's gone to closed loop. System response looks good. Now 20 seconds into flight. Atlas is now completing the pitch over maneuver. Body rates continue to look good. RD-180 is throttled down slightly to partial thrust. Response looks good.
Now it should be noted that Atlas V rockets use Russian-manufactured engines, which we no longer have the ability to purchase from Russia because of the geopolitical situation. But ULA has a stockpile of, I think, 22 more, perhaps 20 more engines that they can that they have accumulated that they will be using for the remaining Atlas V launches in the coming months and years. So being a military classified mission, we did not get to see the payload deployment or any of that, but nonetheless, rest assured it was successful, as is to be expected from ULA launches. Finally, yesterday, Virgin Orbit Launcher 1 a Virgin Orbit Launcher 1 air-launched rocket deployed 7 small satellites for the U.S. military's space test program.
Release, release, release.
Yes.
Confirmed release.
Base copies.
Switched
Good light.
Sabitha to S-band from
Base
Long
copies. Good
PST's ignited.
Newton 3 startup complete.
She's saying it. We sent it. Or Launcher 1's going straight up to space.
Base copies. Well done.
Incredible job, Ellies.
So the broadcast had left much to be desired, but it was nice of them to include an ASL translator. But the presentation was rather rough, and the potato cam from the rocket was not very useful. I don't know if they had a chase plane this time. I believe this was Virgin's first night launch of their Launcher 1 rocket. Previously they had launched in the daytime, and so there really wasn't much to see. Excuse me, but the launch was successful, and they deployed their military small sats successfully. Now, the mission was called Straight Up, a reference not to the rocket's trajectory, but rather to Paula Abdul's hit song from 1988, which was released under the Virgin label. Virgin Orbit likes to name their missions according to songs on that label. So Paula appeared in the broadcast, always good to see her, looking very excited and perhaps a bit confused as to why a rocket launch was named after her song. In case you don't already have enough reasons to feel old, 1988 was 34 years ago. Now, taking a look further back into space history, this Monday marks the 25th anniversary of the landing of the Mars Pathfinder rover, Sojourner, on July 4th, 1997. Looking ahead to this week, on Monday, July 4th at 6:54 a.m. Eastern, 10:54 UTC, there's expected to be a Black Brant 9 suborbital rocket launch. This is a sounding rocket or a suborbital rocket that is launched usually for scientific research in low Earth orbital space, but not at orbital speeds. So these Black Brant rockets, they can reach high altitudes, even higher than the space station, but they can't reach orbital speed. So they go up, they come back down, they collect their information, and that's it. I am not aware of a live stream for this launch, so there may or may not be one, but just be aware that that launch is happening. On Thursday, July 7th, at 7:13 a.m. Eastern, 11:13 UTC, an Arianespace Vega C, or as Snow Kittens called it, the Beefy Vega, will launch the spherical Lares 2 satellite for ASI, the Italian space agency. The satellite is covered in mirrors, which will enable precise tracking from the ground for the purpose of studying geodynamics and general relativity. Also on Thursday at 9 a.m. Eastern, 1300 UTC, SpaceX will launch another batch of Starlink satellites from Kennedy Space Center. Now, as always, launch schedules are subject to change at any time. There could be launches added or shifted around, so keep an eye on the schedule. I'll post a link to the calendar in the chat. All right, so At this moment, I would normally thank our channel members for their continued support of Raw Space. But as I mentioned earlier, the channel was demonetized by the wise and all-knowing YouTube. Now, this was not an automated action. This was done by a manual review of the channel by some employee at YouTube. But as a result, channel memberships are not currently available. So again, if you would like to show your support for Raw Space and what we do here, options include monthly subscription as a Patreon patron, or a direct contribution via PayPal is always an option, and that's actually the most efficient method because PayPal, if you select sending money to friends and family, then PayPal doesn't take a cut, whereas Patreon does take a cut. And in fact, if I remember correctly, YouTube, the YouTube memberships as well as Super Chats take like a 30% cut of all the money, which is a huge chunk. But in any case, and a third option is the Rawmart, or the Raw Space merch store, which is always available for your merch needs. I also wanted to mention that this show, SpaceWeek, is available as an audio podcast for your listening pleasure on Libsyn, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, all your usual podcast venues. And I typically upload the, I publish the podcast typically on Sunday evening, my time. Sometimes I don't get to it until Monday morning, but typically I have it uploaded by Sunday evening. So if you prefer to listen to this or wish to re-listen to it in your car, then there you go. All right. So let me get to your questions. Hopefully you've been tagging my name, Raw Space, which lets us know that, well, it lets our little script know that you've asked a question, and it aggregates them for us. Okay, so also I do want to take a moment to wish a happy belated Canada Day 2 days hence, or previous, 2 days previous to our Canadian listeners, and a preemptive happy 4th of July to our American listeners, which is tomorrow. All right, Drop a Deuce, number 2, says, love your coverage, Raw. YouTube sucks. You do a great service. Thanks so much, brother. It's my pleasure. I'll keep doing this even if they don't let me monetize my channel. Like I said, this is the 4th time I've been demonetized, so YouTube can go suck an egg. And, we'll get there one way or another. Okay. Now, Rockin' Robbins 13 did mention that regarding the James Webb Space Telescope, there had been at least 4 previous micrometeoroid impacts on the telescope, but they were not sensationalized like this one. And that's not surprising. It's pretty typical for otherwise routine events to go viral every once in a while, and so you might have the same thing happen 10 times, but one of those times it happens to be picked up by the media and they run with it. So, yeah, that's unsurprising. Mark Desire says, can't wait for the JWST. When do you think we can expect something like, for example, special editions of astronomical journals, magazines? I'm not sure what you mean. Do you mean like period, like Time magazine, the ultimate Beatles edition or whatever, where they focus on one topic for 150 pages or whatever. I imagine those will be coming out maybe, who knows? I mean, we need to accumulate enough unique looking James Webb images in order to to accumulate something like that. But maybe later this year, maybe next year, certainly in the future, as James Webb continues to operate. Mark Dezer also said, or maybe they first came up with the abbreviation name and later came up with the official long name. That seems likely, kind of like the Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The S.H.I.E.L.D. acronym was horribly awkward, and Agent Coulson's explanation was that someone really wanted to spell the word shield. So Capstone is very likely came before the actual long form of the mission's name. All right, so let me jump back to the live chat to see if we have any additional questions. Here's to Life asked, what was YouTube's reason for demonetizing you? It was reused content. So basically, they don't like the fact that most of my videos are live restreams of rocket launches from, SpaceX and NASA, et cetera, et cetera. They want me to add value to the content somehow. So I can either, I can edit it with captions or voiceover, or I can literally put my face in the corner, like do a live host of a launch with my own commentary. And as I explained earlier in the show, I really don't see how much valuable information I personally could add to a live rocket launch besides, reacting to what's going on, looks good, or gosh, that looks awfully wobbly, or whatever. I mean, I don't have access to the engineering information like the launch provider does, and so I personally don't feel that live hosting launches would be of a particular benefit, and so I'm kind of stuck in a weird gray area, because I certainly do provide custom valuable content in the form of SpaceWeek and occasional edited videos, but I also provide regurgitated content such as aggregated launch streams. And I'm not sure if I'll be able to get past that hurdle with YouTube, but I will go ahead and compose my appeal video. They actually have a way you can submit a video as an appeal to a demonetization, and hopefully they'll hear my case and agree that my channel is worth their time. But if not, you know what? Some creators have decided that YouTube is too flaky to even bother with monetization, and they just go straight to Patreon. But Patreon has been an option ever since the beginning. Basically, it's always there. So the downside is that Patreon doesn't give you things like custom emojis and green names in the YouTube chat, but we do what we can in the meantime. Maria C. Kutujan, welcome back, by the way, mentions that, yes, on July 12th, we will be getting new images from the James Webb Space Telescope. There will be a big announcement from NASA, and that's next week, so I'll cover that a little more next week. But I do plan to have a live stream of that broadcast for you. And my face will not be in the corner, so again, suck it, NASA. Suck it, YouTube. Okay. Drop-a-deuce number 2 asks, do you think that CERN could affect satellite and launches? CERN, the particle accelerator? No, I don't think so. Nor could HARP, for that matter. All right, so it looks like we're caught up on the questions. Thank you so much for coming, and I'm sorry there was a 3-week break in the shows, but life happens, as we know, and you know, sometimes we just have to take a break. So I expect to be back again next Sunday. Until that time, keep it raw, take care, stay healthy, unlike how I did, and see you next time. Bye for now. It's not fading.